Going to Kansas City. If I come, I come, I come, I come. I'm going to Kansas.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Choppin It Up with the Cleavers. My name is Emmanuel Cleaver III.
And I'm Emil Cleaver.
And today we have a special guest, Shawn Edwards. But we first have to acknowledge we're in Tyrone Yarbrough's studio. I'm his producer. I write a lot of his songs. So we're here. Just need to acknowledge that.
And we appreciate you letting us use your studio.
I thought you was gonna go for the obvious though.
Thank you for the water.
I thought you was gonna go for the obvious and say we all used to go to church together when we was kids.
That's I'm the one who got him in low key. I found low key. So when you all look up the group low key, they don't acknowledge me, but I discovered them.
You're not on the Wikipedia page.
All right, so we've been talking about 50 years of hip hop the last few episodes.
Wow.
And we're going to get into what Shawn Edwards is doing here in Kansas City. But we have to bring up, have you heard any of the interviews that Melly Mel has done?
A couple of them.
Okay.
So so that was we talked about that a little last week, but we wanted to bring up a little bit more about the generational gap in hip hop in all of black music. You know, it's been like that. But just once again, for those that didn't hear. Melly Mel, pioneer hip hop MC,
Furious 5
said that was talking about a lot of these rappers. First, he said there are not 50 great MCs. He said that they are, a lot of these rappers are, not very good. I'm being very kind.
I was going to say.
He said they're not being very good
like that.
But there was a rapper, which you said was a Redman or Method Man?
I know Method Man responded. Method Man said something to the effect. So Melly Mel, he pretty much trashed Lil Wayne,
everybody.
A lot of people. Everybody. And so Method Man said he needs to stop doing that because a lot of people he's trashing look up to him and they respect him. And now he's just saying all this. So, one, what do you think about, are there 50 great MCs? Are a lot of the people around today overrated?
Well, you can't say point out a lot of people around today overrated because there has always been people around that have been overrated.
Starting from the beginning, starting back from '73 when hip hop was born. Even if you went to the parks in New York, there was MCs who were great. There were MCs who were mediocre. There were MCs that were trash. It's just. History always dictates that you remember those who were great. I mean, every era have great artists. Every era has mediocre artists. Every era has trash artists. Like if you say, name me who was the hottest MC 5 years ago, you got to stop and think. But then if you say name everybody else, it gets really hard. So it's just sad that my man turned into like the black version of Clint Eastwood. Like he's basically just yelling, "Get off my lawn!" It's like, and I get it because the games change, and you could argue he never got the credit that he deserved. He never got the respect he deserved, and he for sure didn't get the checks he deserved. Right. So that when you facing old age. And you like, how am I gonna live? And you think back to the fact that you should have been papered up. Man, that creates a lot of animosity right there.
Well, what I want to pick up some. You said mediocre MCs, trash MCs, great. So, but why is it that a lot of mediocre MCs are double platinum? Well, I guess they don't go platinum today, depending on how many millions they stream.
Yeah, they still do it.
But it seems like a lot of mediocre MCs.
In your opinion?
That's in anything in life. And that's whether you talking restaurants. Like there's a gazillion McDonald's, but there's only a handful of James Beard award-winning restaurants. Like there's a zillion TV shows, but there's only a few Emmy award-winning TV shows. Same with movies. Same with everything. And the reason why is. People don't want to admit it, but the average person's mediocre. So when you general types.
Everybody can't be great.
Everybody can't be great. Because if everybody's great, there is nothing else. So a lot of these artists, and that's in every genre of music. They blow up because they hit that zeitgeist that appeals to the general population. But it's not, because sometimes you can be great and you can be above the intellect of the average person.
Right.
There's some Nas tracks where I don't expect people to get it. Because he's on a different level. Right. I mean, there were some things Andre 3000 was doing that people were like, oh, I mean, so I don't expect you to
took a
get
while
it.
for people to get on the Andre 3000.
It took I don't think some people ever got on technically, because the song he's most known for is technically not even a hip hop song.
Yeah, what is it?
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
That's his biggest selling song. Is it technically a hip hop song? I would say no. It's on a hip hop album.
Hip-hop guy.
It's a song performed by a hip hop artist. Yeah. So I mean, but I think I understand where he's coming from, and I would be upset too, because there's hip hop through the generations. There's a great divide, because artists from the 70s and the 80s, they made no money.
Right.
Like they literally made no money. And then they didn't benefit later in their careers from being able to tour at a lucrative level where you make the money now in the music industry. So I get it, man. Those Social Security checks don't go far when you didn't have no real job. That's just facts.
Yeah, I wonder if he's coming out with some new stuff. Is he?
Yeah, he said he was. He said he was. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's why he's making all this noise,
well,
probably.
Makes sense then.
And the 50 MCs or whatever is just the perfect timing. But yeah, he has some. I listened to his last album with Scorpio, one of his band members, and he's obviously a great lyricist. But
100%,
the beats and the hook, no. I mean,
right.
They just
it's not that. That's not the style right now. I mean, if you go back, like early LL Cool J was fantastic, but that don't play in 2023.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just he just
different. Needs to hook up with some new producers, some new writers for the hooks.
If he really wanted to get a check, if it's really about the money, what he should really do is just tell his story and turn it into a film or a TV series. Because that would be fantastic. Because the true history of the early days of hip hop has never been told through film or television. I know Baz Luhrmann tried with the Get Down on Netflix, but Baz wasn't the dude to do that.
1 year or something?
No, it get 2 seasons. Believe it or not, it did. It got 2, but I don't know if Baz Luhrmann, a dude out of Australia, was the guy to tell that story. Like,
probably not.
Yeah, he could tell. Like, he did a great job with Elvis. Like, that's his lane. I don't know about the early origins of hip hop in the South Bronx. That's like, I would have rather seen somebody like the Hughes brothers or F. Gary Gray. I would even be okay with Spike Lee doing it, but Baz Luhrmann, nah. Even though he's a cool dude, nah.
So you said something that got me thinking, and I'm going to ask you, because we've talked about it before. You were talking about the guy from Australia did the Get Down, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so what's your opinion? You're in the business. You're traveling all over the world, movie critic. What is your opinion? And I don't want to get you in trouble because you may with some of your friends.
No, I'm good.
What is your opinion on black British actors coming over here playing historical African American figures?
David Oyelowo playing Martin Luther King.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you know him or.
I know him very well.
Okay, well, I'm not even going to say my opinion on him. My opinion.
No, don't. It's fair game. I'm sure he's heard it all before.
Yeah.
When it comes to here's my thing. When it comes to acting, because people get caught up on now. We're so politically correct that by the standards that everybody wants us to live up to, Jamie Foxx wouldn't be allowed to play Ray Charles if they made that film today, because they'll be like, he's not really blind. Like, it's acting. He's an actor. I mean, your brother's an actor. He'll tell you. If you're born in London and you want to play an iconic American, as long as you can pull it off and you believable on screen, I'm cool. I'm fine with it. Because if you put casting directors in a box where you be like, okay, the only person that can play Martin Luther King is somebody who was actually born in Atlanta, Georgia, you might limit the quality of the production. So I don't have any quibbles with that.
Okay.
Like, I don't. Now, I do have quibbles with the performance and the script and some of the direction of the movie Selma. That's the
Selma was. I walked out on that movie. That movie was so bad to me.
Oh my God, because I know Ava too, but no, it's.
Well, I mean, I'm
you
saying.
walked out on Selma?
Well, I mean, yeah, I did.
Well, you
just because it.
Man, but you're coming from but because of your family dynamic, you coming from a different perspective than the average person watching.
Maybe.
Because I mean, to be fair though, I mean, you have a parent who is actually a part of the actual civil rights movement, so that's going, that's.
I mean, my feeling was it was made for Hollywood, and that's.
No,
I mean, that's understandable, but. Yeah, it was too much for me.
Okay, but say I gave you like $50 million. I'm like, make the story of Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, the audiences aren't ready for the real story on either side of that coin.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, because we live in an era now where they're trying to just ban simple passages out of like history books. So how you gonna really tell the real story, and then how you tell the real story of him as an actual human and his flaws? And I mean, it's
gotta play it on BET.
BET's not black owned yet.
I know.
Nice. Well,
we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be black owned maybe in a minute. You got 3 people trying to.
I was gonna crack a joke. It still might not be.
No. Well,
that's a whole. That's no had to do with hip hop.
Yeah. So we can get back into.
Well, what about your thoughts? I mean, who is in control of hip hop? This is something else we talked about on our show.
I'm not.
And we talked about it from a generational standpoint.
Right.
I know he said several times that when hip hop started off, older black generation didn't like it, but that was really their chance to really embrace it.
They should be.
And
They
have
should be
control
running
over it.
Well, one older black person liked it.
One.
Yeah.
What? What's the lady's name that started Sugar
Sylvia
Hill?
Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, she was crooked, but she's the one. But she's the one older black person. But black people have never been in control of hip hop, because black people have never been in control of the record industry or the music industry, because the music industry is more than just like recording a song and playing on the radio. I mean, black people own very few radio stations. Black people own no streaming services. Technically, I don't know what's going on with Tidal.
Jay-Z gave that up.
I think he owns it.
But a percentage.
Maybe not.
But I don't. It's tricky math with all of that stuff. And back in the day when people bought like records, cassettes, CDs, black people didn't own no trucks, because all the money was made in distribution. Like, and at the pressing, we don't own no pressing plants where they press the vinyl or press the cassette tapes or we don't manufacture CDs. We had no stake in none of the areas where you make money. And then the number one arena where you make money with music is publishing.
Right.
Like, we didn't control the publishing. Even if black artists were lucky enough to own their own publishing, they still had to go through second and third parties to have that control. Like, we didn't have outright ownership. So if you have no ownership in publishing, no ownership in distribution, no ownership in any of the mechanisms to play the music, and we don't own no arena, so you can't control the touring money. We don't own the buses to get the artists from cities to city. We're making no money in the process.
Which is why we know how the music that's being pushed is being pushed, because it's not.
Yeah, did you read?
Not from within the culture.
Exactly. Because remember, the funny thing is, Billboard, they used to tabulate their charts by sending actual human beings. 99.9% would be white men who would travel from city to city and go to the record store and literally show up and say, "How many albums of Led Zeppelin you sell today?" And the record store owner would give them some fictitious number, which is why when Billboard switched over to SoundScan, which actually counted records and CDs and cassettes that got sold, why do you think the chart so dramatically changed? There hasn't been a number one rock and roll album since 1991. Why? Because they was cheating all them years, man. And then with black music, because distribution was primarily controlled by the mafia, a lot of times they were selling the black artist stuff under the table, because more people wanted the black songs than the white songs, and they was pocketing the money on the black songs and legitimately selling the white songs, which is why the white songs got credit to go platinum and gold, and the black song.
Boom.
Yeah, I mean, because it ain't nowhere in the world that Parliament and Funkadelic never had a #1 record. How does that make sense? Yeah, right. How does that stuff don't make like Tyrone's like I'm
playing it today.
I mean, it does. Like, how did James Brown not have like 25 #1 singles? Like that does not make sense to me. Like, but Captain Tennille does. like, come on, man. Ain't nobody listened to a Captain Tennille song since 1973.
About that name till you said it.
I'm just saying. I mean, so hip hop got punished that way too, because hip hop took it even harder because, you know, the whole industry not only did they dismiss it as a fad, they just dismissed it as it wasn't even music.
Right.
They just shoved hip hop. You know, them early hip hop records, man. It went unaccounted. They didn't care. It's like they didn't
bootlegs.
Brand
Nubians knows about that.
Yes, bootlegs. The ticket gates at the concerts were all wrong. They just, man, it was terrible. Like, I don't think anybody in hip hop made any real money until about 2010.
Man, in 2010. Well, I mean, behind the scenes, Russell Simmons and those guys were doing something.
Some people. So let's switch gears. So tell us about what you're doing here, Kansas City. 50.
Oh yeah, well, you know, it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop, 2023. You know, the so-called birthday to hip hop, August 11th, 1973. That's, you know, whether that's true, false, has just been designated as the birth of hip hop.
DJ Kool Herc.
Yeah, DJ Kool Herc threw a party in his apartment building and was spinning on the ones and twos, and there's the beginning of hip hop according to the historians. But no, I just wanted to put together a couple events to sort of celebrate and like Kansas City's contribution to hip hop. It's a lot more than what people think. So we're gonna have like a 50th anniversary hip hop concert at the Gym Theater on August the 12th. We're gonna try to find as many artists that are still around that can perform that night, and we want to represent each decade. If we can find somebody from the 70s, cool, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, and today, and just try to get maybe 25 artists to sort of represent the totality of the history of hip-hop in Kansas City. I mean, it is Tech 9, but it's a lot more than just Tech 9, and it would kind of be cool to get Tech 9 to come and maybe perform, you know, one of those songs that not a lot of people know about, like from like 1992 or 1995 before, because I don't think a lot of people realize. I mean, Tech 9 went unnoticed for
years.
a long time. He, on all accounts, he had a half a dozen failed record label deals, and I mean, he didn't really like blow up until like 2005, 6, 7, 8, but he had been around since like 1990. So it'd be cool to have him come out and do that. And then we're gonna do a hip hop. I gotta stay in my lane, so we're gonna do a hip hop film festival where we show some classic hip hop movies at the Screenland Armor in North Kansas City.
Right.
So we'll announce some of those titles. Crush Groove, definitely got to show Crush Groove. One of my favorites is Juice. I don't want to get too deep with it. I would love to show Wild Style, but I know people just not on a massive level. I don't think people are ready for that.
Probably not. That's too abstract.
It's way too. It's that people appreciate hip hop, but they don't appreciate hip hop like that. Like that's like you probably get 5 people and come and watch that. Like that, they taking it way deep under. And then on Juneteenth, that first Friday, June 2nd. We're kicking off an event with Juneteenth KC. So myself and Don Juan, we're going to do a conversation.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, where we talk to people about the history of hip hop and how we grew up with hip hop. Because I mean, it was like a fascinating journey that included a lot of things that just happened just culturally. I know for me personally, my biggest dynamic shift in hip hop was. I remember it's so wild too because it was a bunch of us, especially from St. James. We all kind of went off to college together. But I remember the summer of 1986 when I went to Morehouse. I remember I went to Atlanta. I played football. I was down there in July. Came back home you always get out early. It's like I think came back home the first week of December. So it would have been like the winter of 86. And you could see that's when this massive change in the culture, where you went from like hip hop was fun to hip hop could get you killed. Like, it was like that crack epidemic. It was like turning a light switch on. It's like I left for a semester and literally came back home, and like I had cousins that were zombied out, and it was the first time like we would go out and it was like, you can't wear this, you can't wear that, and I was like, whoa! It changed. I went from like, listening to fun-loving De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest records. All of a sudden, everything was gangster in like 2 seconds. So we're gonna talk about like how like things just like it just changed, man. It was like the whole vibe of it's like fun got sucked out of life in like 2 seconds. It's like you couldn't go to house parties no more. You couldn't you couldn't go anywhere miscellaneous anymore.
The crack epidemic had a lot to do with that as well.
No, that's what I'm saying. But the crack epidemic changed it. The crack epidemic changed everything. Right, but the biggest change that hip hop has ever experienced was from the crack epidemic. Right. It changed lyricism. It changed the look. It changed the feel. It changed the presentation. It even changed who was listening. Like it turned hip hop to this whole other. It turned hip hop into this whole other thing, man. It was just like, it's like Tupac in performing arts school, Tupac with Thug Life on his stomach type of thing, man. It was like, whoa, this is like. So we're gonna talk. It was wild because we was right at that age where you can notice it though, like, because we had partied in high school and it's like, oh man, lottie dottie, like it was like lottie dottie 6 minutes, we're like, we partying.
Yeah, and then it was the early hits.
Yeah, and then it was like, oh, okay.
Well, that's why I like Common's song, I Used to Love Her. I mean, he documents that in the song, talking about how, when he went away to school, that's when hip hop moved to the West Coast, and that was cool. But I'm a man.
Yeah, that caused the beef for Common too.
Yeah.
But West Coast hip hop was fun at first because, like, okay, so what people don't remember is, man, when I was in high school, they didn't play hip hop on the radio, and Yo MTV Raps wasn't out yet. So the only way you would get exposed to hip hop is if you went out to a party, or if you had a friend or a relative who would travel.
Right.
And they would always come back with mixtapes that they recorded off the radio.
Right.
And so early hip-hop was, like, they talk about a little bit in the movie Straight Outta Compton. Like, early hip-hop was Egyptian Lover. Like, it was all this fun, sped up, all that 128 beats per minute. Like, it was party music. Right. And then it was like, boom, game over. Like, it wasn't NWA. It was Ice-T. No, 6 in the morning. Like 6 in the morning hit before NWA. That's what was like, whoa, because he was like, that was straight up gangbang music.
Right. I think a lot of it also, what was pushed out there was dictated by who was controlling hip hop as well. Because at that time, I mean, you had to, when it really started reaching the mainstream. We're talking about early '90s, and that wasn't really mainstream like it is today, but.
That was around the time Russell Simmons sold Def Jam.
And you're telling people, okay, what's your gimmick? What's your gimmick? You got to come in, okay, you got to have blunts in your mouth, or you got to have something. You just can't come in with lyrics. You can't come in with just a nice song. You got to have an image.
But the whole appreciation though for hip hop lyrics had been on the climb for a while. Like they're really and there were some people who never really got into the whole lyricism element though. I mean, because I remember all the people like, I like the beat.
That's what I hear.
I like the beat.
Say that.
Like, but no, you really ignoring what this person? You can't ignore what this person. How are you ignoring what this person is saying? Right. Like, no, I don't like the beat. Like, but like, no, it's the combination. It's a song. It's music. How do you ignore one element over another? People are like, I like the beat. Like, okay. Like if I just played you the instrumental of this track, it would not hit the same because instrumentals don't hit the same. They don't. They
don't.
They don't hit
If
the
they
same.
did, they would be playing them on the radio.
They be playing them on the radio. They don't hit the same.
I'm listening to lyrics. So, I mean, if the
No.
lyrics ain't, I mean, they got to say something. For me to,
But I want to go back to this. There aren't 50 great MCs.
Okay.
That's crazy.
So you think there's 50 great MCs?
Well, I hate the word great. I mean, there are 50 respectable MCs who have made their
Definitely
mark throughout 50
respectable.
years. Throughout 50 years, yes. I mean, yeah, great to. I mean, everybody's definition of great is different. I mean, greats are different. That's why I hate that acronym, greatest of all time. Which, by the way, LL Cool J coined.
Did he coin that?
Yes, he did.
I mean, I know he coined that, but did he?
Yeah.
Did he get the what do you call it? Trademark?
I don't know if he got the trademark, but remember, LL Cool J was the
Yeah.
first to say greatest of all time. Like
So he should've-
I don't know any other, unless you can find
No,
another
no.
pop cultural reference of someone
No, he
else
did.
saying GOAT. It was LL.
Right,
And
yeah.
now people just abuse it.
He should have
I don't-
trademarked that.
He should have, but greatest of all time. Number one, people they always want. Anytime anybody does any little thing, they be like, "He's the greatest of all time." But greatest of all time means you the greatest of all time, means you on the top of the mountain, which this irks me all the time. Like he's the greatest of all time. Well, is he even the greatest of his era? Is he even the? It's. I hate that acronym. But LL did coin. To my knowledge,
He
was-
did.
He was
No, he coined it.
He's
So-
the first one to say it.
Let me ask you. Well, they had Melly Mel 49. Do you think he should be higher than that?
48, I think.
I mean, I
I
know
gotta
that's
see the
tough
list.
just
I
off
gotta
your
see- yeah, I
top
gotta
top of
see
your
the
head.
list.
So they had people like Nicki Minaj in front of him, which he did not like.
Okay,
you know.
I'm Team Melly on that one.
UCLA was ahead of.
Although, Nicki Minaj should not have been ahead of him in terms of all around lyricist, but in terms of a one-time performance, a lyricism, man, that verse on Monster.
Yeah, I know. That's the one verse.
That verse on Monster,
killer.
that's that. Now, if you do a list of the greatest, like one time, like if you just take a verse out of songs, that is top 5. But overall, lyricist ahead of he got a point. He got a
Well,
point.
okay, so yeah, that's
They didn't put they didn't put Cardi B ahead of him, did they?
I don't know if she was on the list.
yeah.
She be
I
popping
don't-
up on some list, and I just
I
be
don't
like,
remember.
oh. Who else was ahead of him though?
I mean, a lot of people.
Well, yeah, 47
name
other
some
people.
people.
You name anybody, they were in front of him. But you know, a few people didn't make the list.
Who didn't make it?
E40 didn't make it.
No way.
And Too Short didn't make it.
Oh no! Wait a minute. How did everybody out here still using his colloquialisms? How E40 didn't make it?
That's
Nah, E40.
No. I'm sorry. Maybe he did make it. Too Short did not make it though. But E40, I think he may. I don't know. He may not
Okay,
have been.
that's a good point. Now, is Too Short a lyricist?
He
Because
started.
Too Short reminded me more like Dolomite, like just the dude. Just
Right. Yeah, I
he
can
just
see that.
he just Dolomite wasn't a great actor, but he was entertaining.
Yeah, that's what I said about Too Short. I wouldn't call him a lyricist, but he made some good songs. He made some funny stuff.
Yeah, and he could
But
talk.
according to some of those people on the list, I think he
Oh,
should
yeah,
be
yeah.
on
You
there.
know-
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So now we.
Absolutely.
But Too Short was. I mean, what Too Short is though, he's an amazing storyteller.
Oh, absolutely.
But he's not. Just like Kevin Hart, he's a good comedian, but he's not drop dead funny. Like I would never put Kevin Hart on the all-time greatest comedian list. But he's good at delivering his material. Too Short's not a great lyricist, but he's good at delivering his material. And he did put out some really good songs.
Yeah, and he stuck with it. He didn't change his style. He stuck
Nah, but blow the whistle.
with it.
Blow the whistle still gets parties going to this day.
Yeah, that,
I mean,
that introduced a lot of younger folk to.
yeah, they might not have connected,
So
but
E40 is on there. He's 41.
okay, that's fair.
But they
That's
have
fair.
Dr. Dre at 40.
I wouldn't even have Dr.
I wouldn't even have Dr. Dre on the
As
list.
producer, I mean, that's a
Yeah,
different story.
top 3.
Because, I mean, one, he doesn't write his own stuff, which is also another thing. Can somebody be on the list if they don't write
Are
their
they a
own
great
stuff?
MC if they do not write their own lyrics?
You can't
Which is
be on
debatable.
you can't be on the list of greatest lyricists. You have to write your own stuff to be on the lyricist list. you can be on the performance side because you're reciting and performing, but you can't be on the lyricist side. But Dr. Dre shouldn't be on any of those lists.
Yeah, I would.
There's no way Dr. Dre should be on the list of lyricists because he's always the weakest element on every song.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get
The
on
Chronic,
a lot of songs.
the Chronic is not the Chronic without Snoop Dogg.
Right, no.
Like it's just not. The Chronic is not.
And he didn't even write it.
No,
He didn't write any
no.
of the stuff.
The
I mean,
Chronic,
you don't see him-
nah. The Chronic is not the Chronic without Snoop Dogg. And then he had a lot of features on the other album. Like I don't think Dr. Dre should. I mean, Dr. Dre is a massive figure in hip hop, but a lyricist he is not.
Well, that's why Melly Mel is mad. I mean, because people like that are ahead of him.
That is.
I mean, so
I would be mad about who else? I would be mad about
I
Dr.
mean,
Dre and
he
Nicki
has,
Minaj.
I mean, he has some people that maybe Bun B is in front of him. Jadakiss,
Jadakiss would have been higher on my list. But
Q-Tip,
Q-Tip.
yeah, Q-Tip, Black Thought.
Yeah, to me, Black Thought was way too high, or way too low.
Queen
Low.
Latifah, Bun B,
Queen Latifah?
Redman, Ludacris, Gucci Mane. See, he's probably mad about Gucci Mane.
Yeah, I would be.
I don't know. I hear a lot of these younger cats like they love Gucci Mane. Like,
I mean, yeah,
the
he's
lyricist.
good. Oh, yeah, he's
But
good.
it's some younger people. It's some newer artists better than Gucci Mane. though.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, they had people
Busta
like J. Cole.
Rhymes, T.I., Lil Kim, Lauryn Hill.
Lauren.
You don't like Lauryn Hill?
I mean, you can't count her as strictly a rapper, though,
Yeah,
because she has a lot of
yeah,
music,
Yeah, but
songs.
when she is rapping,
When she is rapping, she's fire, but I don't know if she should be that high. Lauryn Hill's she's a tough one to define though.
She's like a Drake almost because they don't just
But
rap.
Drake's got output. Does Lauryn Hill have enough output?
No, I mean, I don't know what happened to her.
She won an album. Was
one
there
albums and two
in the
Fuji
Fugees?
albums.
Is there enough though? Is there enough from the two Fuji albums and the?
Well, I'm gonna say something controversial. That's why I never put Biggie on my list, any of my lists. Not
Because he's not
top 5,
enough.
10. Because 2 albums, man. Come on, you can't compare. I know those 2 albums were very good, very good. I know.
Can
But
we
I
say
saw-
2.5 since the one was a double?
I know folks get mad when you
So,
talk.
I mean, how
get
many
mad
albums
now.
they had to make to be on the list?
He's on a list. He's not in my top 5. Probably not in my top 10. But I mean, yeah, those 2 albums would get him in my top 25.
Those 2 albums though,
And he'd be higher, maybe top 20,
it's people.
maybe top 15.
You could argue like somebody like a Ludacris has put out a multitude of albums, but does he have as many classic songs as Notorious B.I.G.?
Yeah.
Depends who you
Club-
ask. You
yeah,
ask
club
them in
bangers.
Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, but that's a regional bias, though. We can't, that's the beautiful thing about being in Kansas City. There's really no regional bias,
So let me
Like-
switch it to Kansas City. I don't know how. So who was the first Kansas City artist that you heard?
I remember Jack of Spades.
Yeah,
Who was that?
He went
Jack
to a
of
contest.
Oh my God, yeah,
That was back in like 84,
yes,
5, 6.
Yeah,
that's like 80.
yeah. When they had Mr. DJ, let me get 3 Ds in a roll call.
Yeah, that might be the earliest. Wow. There was a kid out of KCK. I forgot his name. That was doing stuff like in the late 80s. But it was thin. You knew more DJs than actual like rappers because
DJ Fresh, I knew about him. Seems all my life.
yeah, DJ Fresh was early. Then you had like Captain Von Zell. You had Mr. President. I know I'm forgetting somebody else. Man, because that's the only way you heard hip hop, man. I know Captain Von Zell had a lot because Captain Von Zell would do the grown people stuff and do the high school people stuff. Like he would be at Southeast Fieldhouse and then Purcell Gymnasium, Lincoln Gymnasium, sometimes Central Gymnasium. Then he would be at Howard Johnson's downtown, Arrowhead Inn on 40 Highway.
Was he that DJ that was on the radio that out in Liberty? What's the where they had? We used to call in, Mr. DJ. Can I get 3 Ds?
No, that was somebody. No, that was somebody else.
His name.
Yeah, that was somebody. That wasn't Captain Von Zell. Was never on the radio. He was straight. He was the street DJ. He was the DJ. Then he rolled his van out at the Circle out at Swope Park.
Old school style.
Old school.
I remember a lot of cats in the 90s, early 90s.
Early
who were
90s.
rapping, but a lot of them didn't even, they didn't even have anything on wax.
No.
Well, the big in the early 90s was Gangstar D. I think you remember Gangstar D. We're gonna max and chill.
That was like 90,
We're
91.
gonna max and
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah, that was like 91. Because nobody really had records because the technology prevented you from doing it.
It's too expensive.
It was too expensive because you had to go down to Chapman, and what was the other one? It was Chapman and it were two Wheeler. It was Chapman, Wheeler. There was another place, and like an hour of studio time, man, you needed like $250. Like $250 in
today.
1990
That's
for
a lot
an
of money.
hour. $250, like that was like basically today. Like I need $1,000 for an hour.
You might not even be able to do the song. in an
No,
hour.
that's
you
why the
can't.
songs. That's why the early recordings were like were terrible because you was in there. Number one, you had to rush. No. First, number one, they didn't want you in there. So every time you recorded. Like you had to go like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1, 2, because the daytime was reserved for either agency work or for white bands. No, I'm telling you, you couldn't go to a studio. So number one, would they even let you come in there? Then number two, it was like $250 an hour, and you in there rushing. And they always assigned you the crappiest engineer. Like you didn't get the pro. No, you didn't get the pro. Did you get the pro engineer? You got the intern or the owner's son or the no. I'm telling you, you got the owner's son or the intern or the sidekick. Or you might even get the receptionist who was trying to learn the board, who would help you, babe. That's why everything sounded so bad.
What happened to you remember Dave's studio?
Super Dave.
Yeah. What happened to
Super
his
Dave had some issues, man. He was, rumor allegedly he was selling beats to the same beats to everybody.
That was another problem too. So what Kansas City suffered from
Allegedly.
Yeah, Kansas City suffered from a lack of beat makers. Because if you notice, there were definitely rappers who had skill, but nobody had a hot track. Like that was what's killing people, man. Yeah, but that was Icy Rock
and
came
Don
around
Juan were
90.
probably the
Icy
first
Rock,
ones.
Icy Rock really came to prominence around 1992 because he had that group called Nut House. Because Tech Nine used to be a part of Nut House, so Nut House had the best production. And then Don Juan came around 93, 94 because he was partners with Diamond Shields.
Yeah.
And Diamond Shields passed away. So Diamond Shields started Midwest Side Records. So Diamond was like the first Russell Simmons of Kansas City. He had a limited knowledge of the business, but he had enough street hustle and drug money to fund the label. That's what he did. I mean, he had just enough knowledge to be dangerous, but not enough to take anybody over the hump. Which is why Tech Nine never, because he negotiated the first deals for Tech Nine, and they all just like fizzled because he didn't know the business. Because Kansas City was trapped because nobody in Kansas City had been out to New York or LA and gotten any real experience in the music industry. So they didn't know anything about publishing. They didn't know how to produce records. They didn't know how to like tour. They didn't know anything about distribution. They didn't know market. They didn't know anything. They were just going to the recording studio, tossing them a bunch of money and coming out with basically just like mid-level grade demos. Like that's what mid-level.
Rough start in Kansas City.
But that's what it was, though.
It's still moving kind of slow.
But when we recorded that, we didn't know what to do with it. We recorded a song,
Right.
94.
No, which one you talking about? In the Air?
Roma, yeah.
Probably
That was like
96.
No, it wasn't 96.
Well, I don't
Who
remember.
produced it?
I did.
All right.
So we didn't.
But I wasn't a
After we
producer.
had it, it's like, okay, what do we do with it?
No, that's what
Playing it to our friends.
But that's what okay. So
That's it.
the early days of hip hop, that's what everybody did because you couldn't. Well, this is when Hot 103 was in Crown Center. You couldn't go to Crown Center and give them your music. They wasn't. Number one, you gotta remember, for all of the 80s and half of the 90s, Hot 103 was automated. Yeah. So you couldn't even have you couldn't even have a DJ break your record if he wanted to, because they had recorded the show 2 weeks ago. Because that was always the joke, because KPRS would be on air, they'd be saying the wrong time, the wrong date, because it was automated. It was automated until, what, 95?
Damn.
And it took them a while.
It was automated. Hot 103 was automated for a long time. But then Elbert Anderson bought KCXL on 63rd, and they did that rap show, but it came on at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, we had to run home to hear that.
It came on. The rap show came on at 3 o'clock, and it was over at 4. So if you played sports, if you was in any activity, you go, like if you stayed after school, you never heard it. You had to either have one of your friends record it off the radio, or you had to run home to hear it, because it was on for what was it? Was it 3 to 4?
Yeah, it was like 3 to 4.
It was like 3 to 4.
It started at
like
3.
It was 3 to 4.
Yeah, it started
like
at
that
3.
was the rap show was 3 to 4, but they didn't play no local rap either. Though they didn't play no local rap.
But I thought they didn't play that Jack of Spades. I mean, I can't remember how we heard Jack of Spades.
He won a rap contest.
He won a
So he won a-
contest.
okay.
Yeah,
They did. They played it once.
yeah, he won a contest. He wasn't in road. He wasn't in road. You didn't hear it every week though.
Right, yeah.
Like it wasn't on every week. And remember, this MTV didn't play no rap. They barely played Michael Jackson and Prince. They wasn't playing no rap on the radio here. Like we was like in a rap desert.
Right.
Like it was like if you didn't if you didn't go to parties, if you didn't have a friend, or if your parent didn't take you to Music Land in the Landing, because they had the biggest selection of rap.
What about Seventh Heaven? When did they start doing the?
Well, remember, Seventh Heaven didn't come online until later, because Seventh Heaven was the druggy spot.
Right.
So your parents wasn't going. I don't know about y'all. I couldn't give my parent money to take me to Seventh Heaven.
Nah, I didn't go to Seventh Heaven until years later.
Yeah, I went to Music Land. My mom would take me to Music Land on the Landing, and then my dad would take me to Peaches on Independence Avenue.
Nah, I don't remember that one.
Or was it Tiger? Which one? It was Tiger's Records on Indie. Where was Peaches?
I forgot what Peaches.
But Tigers was on Independence. Yeah, Tigers was on Independence Avenue, and Peaches was somewhere, and then you had Music Land on the Landing. But if you didn't get the records as soon as they came out, they was always gone on the Landing, because they always like, we waiting on another shipment. Because that's where everybody. That's where everybody went. Like you had to go to Music Land on the Landing. And then all the people in Kansas went to the Music Land in Indian Springs.
Indian Springs. Sorry, KGK. We love you.
Yeah, they went to Indian Springs because they had a music. They had a Music Land in Indian Springs on the bottom floor. I remember that, because like if they didn't have the record in the one on the Landing, you run over to KCK to try to get it, because they wasn't as aggressive. I guess they wasn't really in the. I don't know, but so you either went there to hear it, or you went to parties to hear it, or other than that, man, it was like, man, because they didn't even. And then when KPRS did go live, they didn't really play rap music until
they were late.
It took them a
Everybody,
while.
KPRS, y'all know y'all were late playing hip hop.
No, they were very.
Even then, it was still just mainstream stuff.
Yeah,
you wasn't
it was
hearing
And
very.
it was
Tribe
at
or
night. They never
no,
played.
no.
They never did that.
No, they don't ever. Now, 103 never played Tribe Called Quest or De La. They didn't play any of that
never.
kind of stuff. But they didn't play no NW. What were they playing then?
They were playing Hammer. They played some Will Smith.
Right.
Vanilla
that's
Ice.
Right. Because Hammer came out in '88.
Yeah, his first.
His
but
first.
They didn't play him until Too Legit to Quit. That's
What? So they didn't play but
they weren't
his best
playing.
album was the first one.
Yeah.
No,
That was the hip hop album.
Hammer's first album, his first album, the A side, he had 3 songs that hit. No, he did. He had 3 songs that hit.
Yeah, the beats were a little different on the first album.
Yeah, he had 3. No, Hammer had, because he was kind of like at first he was kind of like, so he got that baritone like a Chuck D.
He was cool.
Yeah, he was like,
He wasn't a great lyricist, but he was cool.
and he didn't do all that. When did he start the dancing? That was the turnoff for me.
I think that's what he was trying to break out. I don't know.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, you
It
know,
worked.
that first
No, it
album
worked.
got him beef with Third Base.
That's right. They did a video with the big hammer in it. Yeah, but no, Hammer's first album wasn't that bad. But so they played. So Hot 103 played Hammer.
They played Hammer, DJ Jazzy Jeff, Fresh Prince. They played. I remember them playing Humpty over and over again. But
What did they
played
play from?
Humpty?
Yeah, they did. What did they play from 79 through 95?
Nah, they didn't play 79. They weren't
They
playing.
played
no-
Rapper's Delight. They played Rapper's Delight.
Did they?
They played Rapper's Delight. They played. I give them credit, but they didn't play The Message.
I don't remember that.
No, they did not play The Message. There's no way they played The Message.
I'm gonna give props real quick. First time I ever heard Tribe Called Quest played on the radio was in the 2010s. That was Shawn Tyler when he went over to 107. That was the first time I ever heard Tribe, and I was like, "What in the world is going on?"
Wow! In 2010.
Whenever he went over,
The
I don't
first
remember-
time.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So when did but 103 did get in trouble because I remember the infamous Tony G played the explicit version of My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me.
Oh,
Oh,
did he?
I missed that
Yeah.
one.
We were in school when that came
No,
out.
I remember that was, and then they stopped playing hip hop altogether,
Yeah, I'm
and
sure.
then they also stopped playing hip hop when they leaned in heavy on, and this was their campaign slogan: "Put the damn guns down."
Oh yeah.
They did that. They did that. No, they went in heavy on that. Because remember, they used to have those. So what was it? Every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they would do the Alvin Brooks cut-ins.
Right.
And
Yeah,
they
it was
went-
every 30 minutes. I think.
Yeah, they went. So they did So Alvin must have, but God bless him. I understand because it was getting crazy, but he must have convinced the powers that be that not to play any hip hop, or was it any hip hop when he was on? It was a weird.
might have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think at that time at KPRS they probably even understood hip hop. I mean, they were still. I
The
don't know who
DJs
was
there didn't. They didn't because they didn't have
They
any
weren't
DJs.
DJs, though.
Well, I mean,
They
Well,
were.
we're gonna have to switch up. So Juan, before we
All
get to the list, tell people how they can find out what you.
Oh
do.
yeah, we're definitely gonna. When it comes to the film festival, go to the Screenland Armor website. We're about to announce the titles. I'm gonna have everything on my Facebook page, and then we'll put everything on the Fox 4 News Facebook page. And in terms of the hip hop concert, it's going to be on the Gym Theater website. That'll be on my Facebook page as well. And then the conversation will be a part of Juneteenth, Kansas City. They have an extensive website on all their events that'll be taking place in June. So that event will be Friday, June 2nd at 2000 Vine. It's basically going to be just like how we talking right now, is that we're going to keep it real specific to Kansas City. And like I said, Don Juan's going to be a part of the conversation. He's got a lot of stuff he can talk about that can get way more deeper than what we talk about. Because man, he been through some. Man, he been through
he was
some.
part of it.
Woo, man, he been through the back. He was on the front lines of all of that. So yeah, we're just really excited about that because I mean and we just touching on little bits and pieces of the history, but it's a lot out there. It's a lot of people who have done some things, but in terms of like massively making a national impact, I mean, you gotta look at Tech Nine, who's been tremendously successful. But I mean, the biggest splash was actually Soleil in terms of like charts and impact and video presence and BET spins and MTV spins and like that. Love her, hate her. That was the biggest spotlight I think Kansas City's ever had in terms of hip hop, because she legitimately was, man, what was it, JT Money?
Yeah. JT Money.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna give a top 5 list today. Top 5 most underrated MCs.
Ooh.
So I don't know what you all have for your criteria. I'm looking at lyrics, people who are clever with the wordplay, metaphors. They have a variety of subject matter, not just talking about the same thing, but they don't get recognized by a lot of people as being great lyricists. So that's the top 5. And I really don't have it in my head because there are a bunch of people.
I got
So
it in my head.
I'm gonna throw some out there. I don't know. Am I first this week?
Yeah, who's your number 5?
Okay, so number five, man. I'm thinking of it as I go along. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say Phife Dawg, number 5. Simply because I mean everybody recognizes Tribe. They're up to
Yes,
be
yes,
inducted
yeah.
into the Rock and Roll Hall
Yeah.
of Fame. Phife Dawg is probably the rapper I've quoted the most in sermons, just because of some of his content. One is my favorite. How can a reverend preach when a rev can't define the music of our youth from 1979? I quote that all the time. But I think people recognize Q-Tip, but I don't. I mean, I know Q-Tip is the abstract poetic, but I don't know that they really recognize Phife like he should. I think he's a powerful MC. Number 4 on my list, I'm sticking with groups because I think, and there are a bunch. So I'm gonna say Big Boy from Outkast because everybody talks about Andre 3000. He's not the only one in Outkast. I mean, Big Boy. I know they're friends, and so Andre 3000 always says Big Boy's the best rapper. Big Boy says we're the same coin, two sides of the same coin. But Big Boy is very nice, and he often doesn't get recognized. People always talk about Andre 3000, as they should.
Yeah.
Big Boy, I think, gets overlooked a lot. Number 3, I'm going to put, people recognize him, but he ought to be much higher, and that's Black Thought. To me, Black Thought from the Roots, one of the greatest lyricists. He's in my top 5, high up on my top 5. And people recognize him, but like on that list,
They
he's
don't
like number
recognize him.
30, something crazy. But the dude is he's intelligent, and I think that's part of it. And maybe it's part of it because he's with the group, he's with the whole band, and people aren't used to that. They just think of the Roots, and they don't think of what he's done. But he's nice to me. I mean, he's a very intelligent rapper. Number 2, I'm gonna say Gifted Unlimited Rhymes Universal, Guru. I think of course people know DJ Premier because of all the people he's produced for, and he's produced some great songs. But Guru was just a steady. He brings in people and he raps with them. He had a song with Scarface. He's right there with Scarface. He does one with Inspector Deck. He's right. I mean, and then the new song, although it's old lyrics from him that he has with J. Cole. Guru, for some reason, people don't recognize just how gifted he was, and we lost him way too soon.
It's a monotone voice.
Yeah.
That's why they.
I think that's what it
No,
was.
but it worked though.
He didn't rap. He didn't rap fast.
Nah, I didn't.
But I mean, it to me.
Gangstar got some bangers though. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Gangstar got some.
Number 1 on my list is probably going to be a little controversial because I don't know, but I'm going to put it out there. I think Common is underrated. I know he's on the list. He's like in the 30s on the list. But I mean, as I listen to him, man, you can't name 30 people better than him. I mean, first of all, his content. He is very diverse in his content. I know a lot of people, my daughter always says, he's just a social conscious rapper.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, he has that, but he has more range. So I like Common because of his range. Now, I'm going to put this out there. Common is also my favorite rapper, so, maybe I'm a little biased. But that's my list.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. All right. If I do my 5 most underrated lyricists, number 5 on my list. He's sort of new, but I don't think he gets a lot of credit for his lyricism. Now he gets a lot of pub in general, but I go with Travis Scott. Like, for the new generation. Like, if you actually listen, like he's clever with it. He says some really clever things. I like the way his phrasing and his wordplay is nice. So that's my representative for sort of the new generation of hip hop is Travis Scott. Now, this guy gets a lot of pub, but you never really see his name on a list of best lyricists. But I don't think Chuck D of Public Enemy ever gets enough credit Like, it just in terms of, if you look at the body of work and the different subject matters he tackled and the delivery and the explosiveness and this, you know, he just crushes with like Fight the Power alone. And then if you listen to the entire Fear of a Black Planet album, that's one of the best hip hop albums of all time from start to finish. Like, it's like, that's a true definition of a no skip album. Like, it's like, track after track after, we're gonna talk about this subject, we're gonna talk about that subject, and it's like everything's on point. And I don't think I've ever listened to a hip hop artist that's forced me to go look up stuff more than he has, whether it's a name reference or some ideology or so. I'm like, what? Who's that? Like, you know, so I don't think he ever, because he's never at the top of the list, and I think he should be at the top of the list.
I've only heard Ice Cube put him.
Right, only Ice Cube, yeah. Well, because, you know, the Bomb Squad saved Ice Cube's career too, so he's kind of in debt. Like, he's like, I owe this man, because they ran me out of LA for a little bit, and they helped me come back. So I'll go Chuck D, number 4. Number 3 on my list is more of an obscure choice, but I mean, I like alternate hip hop. I think MF Doom is like dope. Yeah, it's like, absolutely. And nobody knows MF Doom. Like,
you gotta be really into hip hop.
You gotta be willing to like just go off the beat. But MF Doom is like dope. Like, I'm like, oh wow. And then I might be cheating with number 2, but all 3 of the members of De La Soul, just because I was able to rediscover now that their stuff is available on streaming platforms.
I've been listening to.
Yeah, I went back. I've been listening to all 6 of the albums that weren't available, and I'm like, oh wow! Like, because now I'm listening to it with much older ears, right, yeah. And it's like, oh, okay.
Mind State is the one.
It's. I mean, even De La Soul is dead. I mean, it's just like, you know, and you know that Stakes is High song.
Stakes is High.
Like that. Album. Woo, that might be an all-time top 10 single. I mean, they just like, so. I mean, I know that's kind of like cheating a little bit, but I'm gonna do all 3 of the members of De La Soul. And then I'm just gonna be a homer for number 1 because I just don't think he gets credit for his lyricism. But I'm gonna go Tech 9. I mean, because Tech 9 is a technician. Like, he doesn't get credit. He can go fast. He can go slow. Like, he can do party bangers. He can do some thought-provoking stuff. And the one thing you got to give Tech 9 a lot of credit for, whenever he's a feature or if he's on a track with somebody else, he never loses. He's never the weak link. You can't even say that about Jay-Z or Ice Cube or even Eminem. They've been on other tracks of other people where they have been the weak link. Even Nas. Tech 9 is never the weak link, ever.
I wanted to see a versus with him and Busta Rhymes, because people were saying, can't nobody mess with Busta, you know, because if they're going to be performing.
Tech 9 would win, but Tech 9 would also lose because those verses are based off of how many hits the artist has. So everybody would go crazy over Busta's 5 hits, but like flow to flow, Tech 9 will destroy Busta Rhymes. Like on an equal, like if you gave them a set of lyrics, the same lyrics, and you say go, Tech 9 will destroy Busta Rhymes.
So
on
you're talking
equal
about his delivery?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he'll destroy Busta live.
Yeah,
like,
it'll be tough to beat Tech 9 in the live performance.
Tech 9's live. Like, I don't care what anybody said. I've seen a lot of hip hop shows. Like, other than just out of the sheer magnitude of their presence, Run DMC was like oh my, Run DMC were like gods. Like, I mean, and technically they're only like a few years older than us, but when you were watching them back in the day, you thought they were 20 years older, man. They were superheroes. They were superheroes. But no, Tech 9's live show was like, if I went to Vegas, I'm betting on Tech 9.
All right, so my top 5, I'm gonna throw a few different names out there. Not number 5, I'm gonna put in a young cat, Joey Badass.
Oh yeah,
young cat. Now to me, I think out of all the new cats, they always say J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake. I wouldn't put Drake in there just because he's not a pure rapper, but I would put Kendrick, J. Cole, and Joey Badass. I think he's that good up there with them. Yeah,
No,
I
it's
know.
cool.
I know.
I wouldn't put Drake on there just because I don't think Drake's that good of a rapper. Drake just has an it factor.
He has some. Yeah, he's a good artist.
He's a good artist, but he has an it factor. But he's not a lyricist.
Well, he doesn't write his rhymes, but that's another. Some of them. Okay,
but
so
his delivery's killer though.
Yeah,
the delivery's killer.
So number 4 is a little abstract MC, Master Ace. And I know a lot of people know him from Sitting on Chrome and all the stuff with the Juice Crew, but the stuff he actually released later on is some of the best music you want to hear. I mean, to me, he has not released a bad album, and then he lately hooked up with Polo, and they've been touring a lot overseas, but he has a lot of concept albums, just a lot of albums. He had one album where MF Doom produced the whole thing. But yeah, to me, he's one of the.
That's a real hip star.
Did you hear how he made it on the symphony? Because originally he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, they didn't want him on there.
They didn't want him on there.
Yeah.
Until he bust his verse. Because Cool G Rap and Big Daddy Kane, he said they were out, and he didn't find out till later. But he did his verse, and they're like, all right.
Yeah. So number 4, Master Ace. Number 3, I'm gonna go ahead and put probably Talib Kweli. But and I know a lot of people give him credit for his lyricism. But yeah, I think he's pretty dope.
They keep him low. They keep him low. I don't know why they keep him so low. It just baffles me sometimes.
And so my number 2 is E40. And I say E40 because I've never heard him on anybody's top 10 or top 5. When he's created, like you said earlier, he's created so much lingo in this culture. I mean, it's how many words he's made up that we use today, just every day. So,
and we don't give enough props to lyricists who are funny.
Yeah,
like sometimes, I don't want to always be like listening to something be serious. Like E40 is funny. he's funny, man.
And he's still. I mean, his music today is still good.
I love E40
Mount Westmore.
The song he did with Grambling. I mean, he just did a song with the Grambling band.
Song with the Grambling band, man. That's nice.
Yeah, he just dropped that a couple days ago. But yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, E40.
So my number 1 is what I think your number 3 is Black Thought. Because I don't hear anybody talking about him in the top 5.
I should have put him on mine. Like I just wanted to do something different. No, I don't know how, and I don't care if he's with the group because he raps on all the songs. Yeah. Like it's not like it's 2 or 3 other people that rap. So what's the confusion?
Yeah, I don't know. They just I don't know. He may be a little bit too deep for a lot of people, the mainstream. But I mean, because the stuff he's been dropping, his solo stuff or his joint stuff with the producers. I mean, yeah, he's dropping some classics.
No gold teeth that he does with Danger Mouse. No gold teeth is probably my favorite.
That is he's also like he's not energetic like Tech Nine, but he's energetic in his own way. Live, like every time you see the Roots live, he's
I've seen him live. Yeah,
like he's like because he. Like, everybody's like, are they lip syncing? Nah, that dude is kill. And the thing I like about him is he's amazing with his own material and the Roots material. But then when they do that little hip hop medley, sometimes he be like slaying rhymes by other artists better than the artist originally did the rhyme.
In the De La tribute, when they were on there, I would have to say he kind of. He was kind of a little better than Pasta News. Yeah. No disrespect, but he kind of outshined Pasta News.
I think that's why he did that stuff on Sway, that 10-minute verse that he did, and then he did make the song Black Thought versus the World.
Yeah,
man, he was nice. That De La tribute was like oh
yeah, he killed it.
So I'm gonna give some honorable mentions. I'm gonna put Ice Cube. I know he's real popular, but I don't hear him talked about. And I think he's up there.
Young Ice Cube or old Ice Cube?
Well, the stuff he did when he first left NWA.
Oh, he's mad. It's anger raps.
America's Most, Death Certificate, Kill It Will.
Those are great albums. Those are great albums.
Somebody getting rapped. You named Nas as somebody who got out rapped one time. The only time I've heard Nas be out rapped was by Ice Cube when he was on Lil Jon's Lil Jon has a song. It was Ice Cube, Nas, somebody.
I ain't never heard that.
Yeah. No, that was the only time Ice Cube killed it.
Wow.
He killed it.
Wow.
Nas is Nas, but man, yeah, Ice Cube killed that verse.
All right, well, if we're doing honorable mentions, like this was because I don't really see his name on the list of lyricism, top lyricists, and then I also never see him on the list of classic albums, but he like recorded one of the all-time best albums ever. He's definitely the dopest Wu-Tang Clan member, but I'm going Ghostface. Ghostface.
Not Raekwon?
Nah, Ghostface is, I mean, Raekwon's dope, but Ghostface is more consistent. Plus, Ghostface, to me, his lyrics are like on Supreme Clientele. His lyrics are far more complex, but also entertaining at the same time. I mean, I know. I
understand Ghostface. Hey.
I mean, you know, and I got a better understanding because I watched that Wu-Tang show, so it gave me
the first season. I couldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it either.
I know.
I didn't like the guy that's playing RZA. Just
no,
for the record.
That's the weakest. That's the worst casting decision of the whole show.
I heard some Wu-Tang members saying they didn't like the guy who played Ghostface.
No. Really?
Oh yeah, I think it was Ghostface. They said they didn't like. I think it was a few that they didn't like. I know Davies. I think he did a good job. What I saw, I haven't watched.
He looked like Method Man.
Method Man. Yeah.
I mean, he looked like Method Man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think Ghostface is dope. Man, I don't think he gets a lot of credit, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, Wu-Tang is a lot of members who had like moments though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of members who have moments though. You know, just like what's the best solo Wu-Tang album ever? That one's hard.
That's a tough one.
I know the hardest intro when Inspector Deck came, abomatomically. Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses can't define why I be dropping these mockeries. I was like, oh, snap.
No. That was that. But it's hard. The overall best Wu-Tang solo album is hard though. Yeah. That one's hard because because Only Built for Cuban Links is not really a solo album.
Yeah, but
that's a duet.
Yeah.
No, it is. I mean, it's a solo record, but
right.
I mean, it's so much Ghost on there. It's like, but it's a classic. It's a classic album. That's what I'm saying. I think that's what's missing from the Kansas City hip hop history. Like, is there a classic hip hop album by a Kansas City artist? Not a song, an album.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say that may be another show. I would have to think about that, but I would have to say so.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be another show.
Yeah, that's another show.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah. Tell us. Yeah.
Woo! Most underrated MCs. I know there are a bunch of folk out there.
Wow.
Maybe you have, Hammer on your list. Maybe you have Vanilla Ice. I don't know.
Man, ain't nobody got them.
But let us know what you think. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Choppin It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast. Dropping this on most Tuesdays. Peace.
I'm of the modest, here I am. I come, that's where I'm from. I say I'm going.